I am unmuted now. Can you all hear me? Let's try this again. Hello, everyone. Thank you for taking some time with us today. I'm Roz Keith. I use she, her pronouns, and I run Stand with Trans. Maybe more importantly, I'm the mother to a young trans man who has had his struggles over the years, but has been fortunate enough to enjoy a lot of community support and is able to kind of pass through life without having a sign on his back that he's trans. So we feel very grateful for that. I want to start our Trans Day of Remembrance conversation today by talking just for a brief moment about something that happened last night. There was a shooting at Club Q in Colorado Springs last night. 5 people have lost their lives in this senseless shooting. Our hearts are with the survivors as well as the family and friends of those lost in the shooting. This terrible news from Colorado only compounds that grief and our resolve to educate our world that all trans and LGBTQ+ people belong. If you don't mind, let's just take a moment of silence to honor those lives lost, and then we'll begin with our program. Pam, do you want to get us started?
Sure. We're going to move on to the name reading of all of those who've had their lives taken due to violence in the United States in the past 12 months. Reading the names today, we have Frank Guzman and Logan Harden.
Tiffany Banks, family and friends remember her as a sociable and beautiful butterfly. When she came around, they say there was never a dull moment. They say she loved to sing and dance. Tiffany, a 25-year-old Black trans woman, was killed in Miami on October 1st, 2022. Her death is the 4th known killing of a Black transgender person in Florida.
Tomash Billingsley, a 33-year-old trans man, graduated from Florida Youth Academy before attending Florida State College at Jacksonville. He was a fan of Megan Thee Stallion and cared deeply about his fans. On September 21, he was killed in Jacksonville, Florida.
A.C. Morrison, a 30-year-old two-spirited person, was a kind-hearted, down-to-earth, joyous, respectful, and loving soul who was a helpful and giving person who was always there for her family and friends. She was shot dead in Rapid City, South Dakota on August 21st. Two-spirited people are Indigenous North Americans who possess both feminine.
Maya Allen, who was also known as Regina Allen, was a 35-year-old Black transgender woman who was full of joy and laughter. Maya was active on social media, often posting selfies of her beautiful outfits and makeup. She was also a member of Sisters Helping Each Other Battle Adversity, a local advocacy, empowerment, and support group for Black transgender women. Maya was killed on August 29th in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Dee Dee Ricks, a 33-year-old Black transgender woman, was shot and killed in Detroit on August 27th, 2022, just before 3:40 a.m. Dee Dee was found dead in her home in Detroit with gunshot wounds. A suspect has been arrested and charged with second-degree murder and felony firearm, according to the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office.
Maddie Hoffman, a 47-year-old trans woman born in Korea and raised in the US by their adoptive family, was killed by police in Malvern, Pennsylvania on May 19, 2022. According to a GoFundMe organized by a family friend, Maddie was one of 6 siblings. They had a deep bond with their younger sister, Emily, who was also adopted from Korea.
Aaron Lynch. A barely 26-year-old Aaron Lynch, a trans man, was shot and killed by police in McLean, Virginia on July 7, 2022. Aaron, who was experiencing a mental health crisis, was first unsuccessfully tased by police after some back and forth discourse, resulting in one of the police officers shooting him 4 times. Police officers had originally responded to a 911 call to Aaron's house with a trained mental health correspondent and returned a second time without one after not initially finding Aaron on the premises.
Candy Reed, who also went by Camilla Marie Swan and Dee Dee, was killed in Kansas City on July 24, 2022. Information on her personal life is scarce, although we know enough to say the 29-year-old Black trans woman was a model and a performer who was doubtlessly loved and appreciated by those closest to her.
Hayden Davis. Interests were wide-ranging, from fashion and the Kardashians to skincare and makeup. Her smile was bright, and she had an active presence on social media. The 28-year-old Black trans woman was shot and killed in Detroit on July 25, 2022.
Maricela Castro was planning a birthday party celebration with friends and family. Tragically, on July 29, the eve of her birthday, Maricela was shot and killed in the North Shore neighborhood of Houston, Texas. According to her friend Jorge Luis Lizardo, as quoted in the Houston Chronicle, she was a bright and sunny person who had never made enemies.
Sherry Bush lived in the Sylmore neighborhood of Los Angeles, California, where she was experiencing homelessness. At 48 years old, Bush was shot and killed on July 5, 2022. On social media, her brother called her his oldest friend.
Keisha Chanel, a 26-year-old Black transgender woman, was traveling with a friend when she was fatally shot in Augusta, Georgia on July 20th, 2022, outside a motel. Initial reports from local media misgendered Keisha. Keisha Chanel Geeter lived her truth as a Black transgender woman, said Tori Cooper, HRC's Director of Community Engagement for the Transgender Justice Initiative. She should still be alive today to embrace those she loved and continue living a bright and full life.
On social media, beloved tributes were pouring in for Martasha Richmond, a Black transgender woman killed in Chicago on July 11, 2022, and pronounced dead early in the morning of July 12, 2022. Of her passing, HRC's Director of Community Engagement for the Transgender Justice Initiative, Tori Cooper, said, at 30 years old, she should have decades ahead of her to spend with those she loved. Her death was not only unjust, but part of an alarming trend of anti-transgender violence in Chicago and in this country at large.
Kitty Monroe, a Black trans woman, was a beloved friend and loving mom to her 4 small dogs named China, Milan, Tokyo, and London, whom she posted countless photos of on social media. She was killed outside Memphis in Cordova, Tennessee on June 29, 2022.
Charmaine Giselle Marie, a 27-year-old Black transgender woman, was born and raised in Gulfport and attended Gulfport High School. She worked as a personal care assistant and as a certified nurse's assistant for almost 4 years. She was shot and killed in Gulfport, Mississippi on June 21st, 2022. On social media, her family and friends remember her as a loving, funny, kind, and genuine person.
Brazil Johnson, a Black trans woman, was a passionate LGBTQ+ activist, a beloved daughter, and a talented chef. In an interview with CBS 58 News, the mother of Brazil Johnson, Bernita Gildart, said her daughter was a passionate step and that the kitchen was like a haven for her. Johnson was killed in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on June 15th, 2022.
Sasha Mason, a 45-year-old Latina transgender woman, was part of a large, loving family. She was a beloved family member and a friend to many. On social media, Sasha's friends and family remember her as sweet, kind, and generous person with a beautiful smile who cherished her friends and family.
Martha Ella Dior Humphrey was known for a smile as bright as her future, according to news reports. She was born and raised in Gilroy, New York, and was close with her mom, cousins, and her niece, according to PGH Lesbian Correspondence. She graduated from Albany High School and studied at Hudson Valley Community College. She turned 30 at the beginning of May. She's just graduated from the University of Albany with a bachelor's degree, where she was a recipient of a 2022 Spelman Academic Achievement Award.
Nidra Sequence Morris, a 50-year-old Black transgender woman, was strong, feisty, and opinionated, and loved talking to her many friends on the phone. On May 14, 2022, Morris was fatally shot in Apaloca, Florida. More than 100 people held a vigil at an intersection where Morris's body was found. A cousin spoke at the memorial saying, "We pray that God speaks to us. We don't go out with the vengeance. We know justice will be served."
Ray Muscat, who worked at the grocery store, was described by coworkers as a kind soul who had a glowing smile. On May 8th, 2022, Muscat was shot and killed by his girlfriend in Independence Township, Michigan. According to police reporters, Muscat's girlfriend also killed her brother, and her body was found the next day. She died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Fern Feather, who used both she, hers, and they, them pronouns, was kind and free-spirited. The 29-year-old trans woman was known to bring joy to everyone around. Her friends remember her making others feel valued wherever she went. Fern Feather was killed in Morristown, Vermont on April 12th, 2022.
Ariana Mitchell, a Black trans girl, was recalled by her family as truly unique, funny, and loved by everyone. Ariana Mitchell was killed on April 2, 2022 in Hampton, Virginia.
Mia Love Parker, a 25-year-old Black trans woman, was fatally shot in Chester, Pennsylvania on April 1st, 2022. She was a bright light in many lives and was also a fan of Pose.
Kenyatta Kesha Webster, a Black transgender woman, was found dead in Jackson, Mississippi on Saturday, March 26, 2022. She had just turned 24 years old in February. On April 1, more than 100 people attended the balloon release honoring Webster. There, Webster's mother passionately called for justice for her daughter's death. She had plenty of love. She didn't deserve that.
Catherine Katie Newhouse, a 19-year-old Asian American neurodivergent transgender woman, was an Illinois native who had a passion for hiking, sightseeing, and advocating for trans rights. On March 19, 2022, she was killed by her father in Georgia before he died by suicide using the same weapon.
Tatiana LaBelle, a 33-year-old Black transgender woman, was a Chicago native who was loved by her friends and family. She was a fan of Mariah Carey and Patti LaBelle. On March 18, 2022, LaBelle was found dead in Chicago. Although details are currently unclear, her death has been ruled a homicide and detectives are continuing to investigate.
Paloma Vasquez, a Latina transgender woman living in Houston, Texas, was a member of the Organización Latina de Trans in Texas, an organization for Latina trans women based in Houston. She was fatally shot on February 22nd, 2022. On social media, the founder of the organization wrote, vuela alta paloma y que no te alcance nunca más el odio de este mundo. Descansa en paz, which translate to fly high, Paloma, and may the hatred of this world never reach you again. Rest in peace.
Matthew Angelo Spampanato, a 21-year-old white trans man, was a victim of a hit-and-run car crash in Newcastle, Delaware on February 9th, 2022. Spampanato worked as a barista at Starbucks and was described as bright and kind by employees. One coworker said he was always so selfless. He would always ask how everybody was doing, even when he wasn't having a good day himself.
Naomi Skinner, a 25-year-old Black transgender woman, was described by her friend as being a very outstanding person. Her sister said Naomi lived a fabulous life. Naomi was fatally shot by her boyfriend on February 12, 2022, near Detroit in Highland Park, Michigan.
Cypress Ramos, a 21-year-old Latina trans woman, loved her local LGBTQ community in Lubbock, Texas. She was tragically found dead on February 13, 2022.
Duval Princess. She, hers. Duval Princess was just beginning to live as her authentic self at the time of her death. She was a well-known hairstylist and active member of the LGBTQ+ community in Jacksonville, Florida, where she was killed. Family members, friends, and clients remember her on social media days after her passing, referring to her as being so sweet and genuine.
Amari Lej, she, her, and hers. A young Black transgender woman, Amari graduated from Woodland Hills High School in Wilkinsburg, a borough bordering Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She was a dancer and beloved coach for the Lady Diamonds, a hip hop and majorette dance team.